What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Monday edition of the NBA Exchange. This following a very eventful weekend of first-round matchups in the NBA playoffs. Normally on the show, we'll get to the hot topics early, but there's a topic that absolutely has to be addressed, and we got to talk about it. Definitely have to talk about fans attacking players at NBA games. Now, over the past week, we have seen a number of incidents involving fans assaulting players. Early last week in Philadelphia, a fan dumped popcorn on Russell Westbrook, and he had to be restrained from going up and challenging that fan if that's all that it would have been. That wasn't it. On that same night at Madison Square Garden, a fan spit and tried to hit Trae Young with his spit. Obviously, also extremely disgusting. And that's not where it stopped. Later in the week, Ja Morant's family, while at one of the games in Utah cheering on their family member, Ja Morant, they were the victims of racist words coming from Jazz fans in the stands. And those fans were removed from the situation. And he said, hey, this is getting out of control. This is continuously happening. We've loved seeing fans back in the stands following what's been a rough past year plus for a lot of people with the COVID-19 pandemic. It's been great to see fans back in the stands on TV, the energy they've been bringing into the arenas. I think we all have realized how much we have missed seeing that, but we haven't missed this nonsense that has been going on. And then last night, it happens again. This coming after Brooklyn Nets point guard Kyrie Irving talked about racism, hearing racist taunts, different things over the years in Boston, which has been well documented, and a lot of people know the sort of stigma and reputation that the city of Boston has when it comes to racism around sports. But Kyrie Irving was leaving the game, heading into the tunnel, when a fan threw a water bottle at him and it just missed him, which was absolutely ridiculous. Now, there's been a lot of talk about why that happened. Kyrie supposedly rubbed his feet on the Celtics logo at the end of the game. And I will just be clear here, that is not a reason for anybody or any fan, and nor is there ever any reason for a fan to assault a player. This is what Kyrie had to say after the game about that incident.
It's been that way in history in terms of entertainment, performers, and sports for a long period of time, of just underlying racism and just treating people like they're in a human zoo. You know, throwing stuff at people, saying things. You know, there's a certain point where it just gets to be too much. So, you know, I called it out. I just wanted to keep it strictly basketball, and then you just see that people just feel very entitled out here. You know, they pay for the tickets, great. I'm grateful that they're coming in to watch a great performance, but it's just, you know, we're not at the theater. We're not throwing tomatoes and other random stuff at the people that are performing. You know, it's too much.
Now, Kyrie's obviously disappointed and disgusted, but friend of the show, Michael Grady, sideline reporter for the Yes Network, also asked Kevin Durant his thoughts on the incident and what went down.
You coming to the game is not all about you as a fan. So have some respect for the game, have some respect for these human beings, and have some respect for yourself. Your mother wouldn't be proud of you throwing water bottles at basketball players or spitting on players or tossing popcorn. So go and enjoy the game. You know, it's bigger than you.
Kevin Durant obviously very blunt there, saying that people need to grow up. And we just have to stop with this altogether. There's a lot of talk around this in the media about how disappointing this is and how disgusting it is. And everybody seems to be dancing over what is a glaring, obvious issue around all of this that we're seeing occur in the NBA right now as fans have been led back to the arena. There's a commonality here, folks. The commonality is that the people who are doing and having these assaults on these NBA players are all white. And the players that it's happening to are black. There is a clear racial undertone, or you might even want to say it's more overt here, that's going on. And I think a lot of people are dancing around this and just ignoring this. And there's no way that you can absolutely ignore this. And it's also irresponsible when it comes to media members who are trying to justify this and say that, oh, Kyrie stepped on the court and disrespected the Celtics logo, so this is why this happened. And yes, no, media members are doing this. We saw this. We saw this from Jeff Goodman of Stadium, who actually had the audacity to have this tweet in which he said the Celtics fan was obviously classless for throwing the bottle and should be banned from the TD Garden. And Kyrie was classless for stomping on the Celtics logo. Both need to grow up. Hey, This isn't about growing up, really, even though KD also said this. This is about having respect and decency for the players and what they do on the court. And there's a long history throughout sports about black and brown bodies not being respected when they're on the court. Black and brown entertainers not being respected at all whatsoever. And what we're seeing is the people in the stands who feel that they are entitled, who feel that they have the privilege, whether it's because of the color of their skin or the money in their pocket, to do this and treat the players like this. And no, that's not it. When you have media members sort of comparing, not sort of, but comparing the two or equating the two as similar, one where a player is assaulted to another where somebody stepped on the logo, that's absolutely ridiculous. And we got to hold our other media members accountable for this nonsense. You know, Goodman has since deleted the tweet, which I'll just be blunt in saying about is cowardly. He got a lot of heat for it. A lot of other reporters came at him for it and said, hey, what you just said there is wrong. It's absolutely insensitive. But now he deletes the tweet, and I haven't seen any sort of statement from Stadium about this, about their reporter who insensitively tweeted this and compared the two things. And he's wrong. That's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's wrong. If you're mad, more mad about Kyrie stepping on a logo that players step on all the time throughout the game, more than actually his personal safety when exiting the court and going back to the locker room, then you are part of the problem. You are part of this problem. If you choose to ignore the racial dynamic that exists here with white fans attacking black players in the area that they are performing, that they are doing their job, you are part of the problem. If you don't want to acknowledge that truth, if you do not want to look at that, then these things are going to continue. We need stiffer, harsher penalties for these fans. The fan who threw the bottle at Kyrie in Boston was arrested and was charged as well. I think these are the things that are going to need to happen if we're going to deter this. But we also need people in the media covering the NBA, particularly our Caucasian brothers and sisters who cover the NBA, to call this behavior out as well. It cannot just be on people like myself who look a lot like the people who are on the court saying this. The fact that nobody wants to say this, the fact that we seem to be running away from the racial aspect that is clear here is not right. And until we start caring about the safety of the players and fans start showing this too, and there's penalties for that, this is going to continue to happen. Because what I see happening right now is it's nice to have the fans back in the stands, but it's not nice if the players are not safe and the fans in the stands don't seem to care about those players at all. It was a busy Memorial Day weekend in the National Basketball Association. A lot of games going on. Now, there were a lot of blowouts, but some things happened. Some teams even advanced. And to talk with me about that is Jael Rucker of 1:37 p.m. She's also a sideline reporter for Georgia State. Jael, thank you for joining the NBA Exchange. How you doing, sister?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Happy Memorial Day.
Yes, happy Memorial Day. Glad to have you here on this Memorial Day. So let's start with one of the series this weekend that ended. That was the Bucks and the Heat. Now, a lot of people had this series going 7, thought it would go really deep, but the Bucks were looking for revenge. And boy, Jael, they got their revenge with their sweep over the Heat. Was this shocking to you? Did you expect it? Because it's kind of shocking to me.
You know what? I expected the Bucks to win, but the way it happened was kind of shocking to me because, I mean, I don't know if you saw, but I put out a tweet, like when Jimmy Butler sent the game into overtime, that game 1, and like how it all ended. I was like, oh, this is going 6, at least going 6. So I was just surprised to see it sort of end in a sweep. And I don't really know like what happened. I expected them to push this series to at least 6 games. So yeah, I'm a little, and it wasn't close games. It was just like complete blowouts. So that was definitely shocking to me.
Yeah, outside of game 1, nothing really was close. I think that's the shocking matter here. When you look at the Bucks, do you like the Bucks going forward? It looks like they probably would match up against Brooklyn in the next round. Do you like them going forward? Is this a team that legitimately could make the NBA Finals?
They could, but I don't know if they could do it against Brooklyn. I mean, I feel like Brooklyn has got the talent, but the only thing that could stop Brooklyn, similar to the Heat, like all those years ago, would be them. So if it's maybe an injury, or if it's like a mental thing where they, that would be the only way you could stop Brooklyn, in my opinion. But if you're talking about Harden and Durant and Irving, and I don't see the Bucks beating them. But if they did not have to play them in some way, shape, or form, then I think they could go pretty far. They're a solid team, and they have experience too. And that's the big thing, is that they're not really considered to be a baby playoff team anymore. But I just don't know if there's anybody beating the Nets.
There you go. We're not sure if anybody can beat the Nets in this postseason. Let's take it over to the West real quick for a second. We saw the Suns even up their series with the Lakers, but there's injury concern for the Lakers again. Anthony Davis is hurt again. How big of a concern do you think this is for the Lakers if they are to win this series against the Suns?
I think it's a pretty big concern, because what was 80? Like, was it 30 points he was bringing in? 80 is a huge piece. And unfortunately, I could be wrong, but I just think the Lakers haven't been able to find their footing because of the injuries. You had 80 and LeBron who were out for pretty much the last half of the season almost. And I don't think they had enough recovery time to prepare heading into the playoffs. And I think it's catching up with them, obviously, because LeBron turned his ankle right before the play-in, I think, and now AD is injured again. And I just don't know if they'll be able to pull it together and get a championship this year without all of their pieces.
Yeah, there's that thing about trying to turn it on last minute, especially when you're not healthy, and trying to get everybody integrated. And it seemed like they were rolling, and now, they're not. And this could be an advantage for the Suns with it going back to Phoenix, for Game 5. Are you still, I don't know if you had picked them, but are you confident the Lakers can get out this series, or are they in trouble of not getting out of the first round at all?
I think they were in trouble before 80 a little bit. Because I just didn't think that chemistry-wise they had connected. I think the injuries really threw them off. But with the 80 situation now, I definitely think they're in trouble. It's going to take... but the one thing I would never do is doubt LeBron James, because I know he's been able to pull off some miracles. And he's been able to kind of do it by himself. I don't know what kind of load that would take on him now at 36. I don't know if he'd let me just put the team on my back like I have. In his younger years with the Cavaliers and stuff, but I don't doubt LeBron James, but yeah. I think they are in trouble.
Hard to bet against King James. Now, I saw you tweet this, I believe it was last week, and you said the Hawks-Knicks series was your favorite series, but yeah. The Hawks are now up 3-1. A lot of people had this going 7. I ridiculously picked the Knicks in 5, and that obviously will not happen. This series has been, very entertaining, especially with how the fans have been in both arenas. Is this series over, though? The Hawks are up 3-1, going back to the Garden on Wednesday. Is this series over right now?
I could see maybe the Knicks get, their home crowd was, I could see them getting the W in Game 5, but I don't think, even if they were to win Game 5, I don't think they could come back to ATL and do it. So I do think it's over, and ultimately it comes down to experience as well, because the Knicks, they haven't been in this spot for 8 years. The Hawks, they're a little bit more experienced in that regard. So yeah, I think it is over. Now it's just a matter of when it's over. I could be wrong, but I think ATL could go into Madison Square Garden and get the W. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, but I don't think it would go past 6.
Yeah, well, they already got 1, and Knicks fans are going to be disappointed with you, Jael, because you pretty much told them that it was over. Now, and speaking of over, last week I thought it might be over for the Clippers. They're down 2-0 to the Mavs. The Mavs come back home, and they lose 2 games at home. And now this series is tied at 2. Paul George and Kawhi have looked really good in the last couple of games. Are the Clippers getting it together? Can they come back and win this first round series against the Mavericks?
Yeah, well, they definitely have a shot because, and that's such a strange scenario because we typically don't see that. Like if a team loses their first 2 games at home and they have home court, then, we're like, this is all but over. Like they might snag one on the road, but it's hard to do. I think they definitely have momentum going because there's also psychology behind sports. And I think if you're the Mavericks, right, now you've just lost you've lost home court. You lost your 2 games at home. Now you got to go back into Los Angeles and you got to, you have no other choice but to get a win there if you want the series. But it seems like the Clippers have the advantage. So there's like the mental element of it as well. And I honestly think the Clippers would have the momentum. So, I mean, it's been strange. Who knows? Maybe the Mavericks will go and maybe they play better in Los Angeles, but I think Clippers have the momentum right now.
All right, Clippers have all the momentum right now. We'll see what happens in that series. I got to talk to you about this because I talked about this at the top of the show. We've seen a lot going on with fans assaulting players around the league. Racist stuff being said to players. John Morant's family experienced this. We saw Kyrie Irving get the water bottle thrown at him last night. What do you make of all this? And do you think the league needs to do something? Should there be harsher discipline? Penalties on fans? What do you make of everything that's going on here?
Well, the fan that threw the bottle got arrested.
Yep.
And I think that needs to start happening if people know there's more consequences than just getting banned. Maybe they'll take it seriously, like, hey, this is something, I'm going to get arrested. This is something that's going to be on my public record. Let me not do this. And I don't know, maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong. I don't even think, like, when I go back to, is this the first time that a fan has been arrested?
That, it's a good question. That I'm not 100% sure on. Sean, I have to say no, because I've seen people in stadiums get taken out in cuffs, right? Like I've seen this, but most times that happens between fans fighting with other fans. I'm not sure a fan has been arrested for assaulting a player. I would think so. I'd like to hope so, but we don't know. All right.
I don't even think the fan that Ron Artest got into it with got arrested. I don't think.
I don't think so. I think you're right about that. I don't think that fan got arrested.
Yeah,
right.
Fans need to. I don't know what's going on with people. I don't know if it's because it's like post-corona and people are wilding. I don't know if that has something, but and obviously there is racial undertones to it as well. And
absolutely.
It just needs to stop. It's really unacceptable. It's really unacceptable, and I'm all for people getting arrested, like spend the night in jail, because clearly just banning people doesn't seem to be working, and other people are getting banned and these folks are still doing it, so it's not having an impact on them. So I would say arrest them.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think something stronger has to be done, and maybe that sends a message and allows it to check some people on their privilege when they come to these games and thinking what they can do to players in that regard. Last thing before I get you out of here, Jael, couple of game 4s tonight, okay? We got the Wizards going up against the Philadelphia 76ers. Then we also have the Memphis Grizzlies trying to even their series with the Utah Jazz. Do you like either of these teams to win a game 4 tonight, or do they have no shot? Is Utah going up 3-1 and is Philly getting the sweep?
Okay. I think Philly's going to get the sweep.
You like, that's easy.
I think Philly's going to get the sweep. And you know what? It might be an easy choice too, but I think Utah.
All right. Utah and Philly. Philly ending their series, Utah getting a commanding lead. What else are you looking forward to in the rest of the first round? If anything you're looking forward to in the end of the first round, do you want to see some more series end competitively? Would you like that?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I've been a little disappointed because there hasn't really been a lot of close games, and it's like that's what the playoffs are like. There's those intense close games. So if the rest of these series are just going to be the blowouts that we've seen, then they could just go on ahead and end. And I'm looking forward to the second round. Yeah. So I mean, whatever is going to give me a good game. So we got to go to the second round. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, there we go. Got to wrap it up. We saw too many blowouts this Memorial Day weekend for our liking. That's Jael Rucker. She's with 137 Sports, also a sideline reporter for Georgia State. Jael, thank you for joining the NBA Exchange. Appreciate you.
For having me.